There was a forgotten place known as Black Hollow, a village so isolated that most people refused to even speak its name. Travelers who passed nearby always hurried away before sunset, believing something ancient watched the land after dark. A thick layer of mist covered the village almost every day. Even at noon, sunlight struggled to break through the endless gray fog. By nightfall, Black Hollow vanished completely, swallowed by darkness as if it had never existed. Surrounding the village was a forest unlike any other. The trees grew so close together that their twisted branches blocked out the sky. When the wind blew, the branches stretched and scraped against one another like enormous hands, reaching for anyone foolish enough to enter. The elders warned that the forest never stayed silent. After midnight, strange sounds drifted through the fog, sometimes the sobbing of a woman, sometimes the terrified scream of a child, and other times the faint ringing of old cattle bells with no animals in sight. Only one muddy road connected Black Hollow to the outside world. It cut straight through the forest before reaching the nearest town. During the rainy season, the path turned into a swamp, swallowing wagon wheels and trapping anyone unlucky enough to travel after sunset. But the mud wasn't what people feared. It was the cart. For generations, villagers whispered about an abandoned wooden ox cart that appeared only at night. No one knew where it came from, and no one ever saw it during the day. The rule was simple. If you saw the cart, never climb aboard. Those who ignored the warning were never seen alive again. Long before the village became cursed, a traveling merchant was returning home after selling his goods in the city. A violent storm had forced him to stay on the road far later than he had planned. Rain hammered the trees as darkness swallowed the forest. Just as panic began to set in, he noticed an old wooden ox cart waiting beside the road. The driver was unusually tall, dressed in a long black coat with a wide-brimmed hat that completely hid his face. In a calm, almost gentle voice, the stranger called out, "You shouldn't be walking through these woods alone. Climb aboard. I'll take you home." The merchant hesitated. The forest felt wrong, but staying alone in the rain felt even worse. He climbed into the cart. The old wagon rolled silently through the darkness. The oxen never snorted. Their hooves made no sound against the muddy road. Even the wheels seemed to glide without touching the ground. Something wasn't right. After several minutes, the merchant looked around. The road had disappeared. The trees looked unfamiliar. The air had become freezing cold. Gathering his courage, he leaned forward to thank the driver. But the man's face was no longer hidden. There was no skin, no nose, only two burning red eyes staring back at him, and a mouth stretched impossibly wide, filled with rows of razor-sharp teeth. The creature smiled. The merchant's scream echoed through the forest, and then everything became silent. The next morning, villagers discovered his body buried halfway in the mud, deep inside the woods. His eyes were frozen wide open in absolute terror. There wasn't a single wound on him, but the expression on his face suggested he had witnessed something so horrifying that his heart simply gave out. After that night, the legend spread from village to village. People no longer called the mysterious driver a traveler. They called him the ferryman of the dead. From then on, no one dared use the forest road after sunset. Yet every rainy night, villagers still claimed they could hear distant cattle bells drifting through the mist. Closer, closer, then suddenly, silence. Years passed, but the curse never faded. Instead, the stories became darker. Every rainy season, people began disappearing without leaving a single clue. Hunters entered the forest and never returned. Travelers vanished from the muddy road as though the earth itself had swallowed them. Soon another frightening rumor spread across Black Hollow. It wasn't just taking travelers anymore. It had started choosing young women. Several girls disappeared over the years. Some were last seen walking near the forest. Others simply vanished from their homes during stormy nights. No bodies were ever found. Only strange wagon tracks leading into the woods and ending in the middle of nowhere. Fear consumed the village. Before sunset, every family locked their doors and covered their windows. Parents refused to let their children play outside after dark. Among the villagers lived a farmer named Ram Prasad and his only daughter Suman. Their farmhouse stood alone beside the edge of the forest, farther from the village than anyone else's home. Because of the distance, they often worked late into the evening, especially during harvest season. Ram Prasad had noticed something disturbing. Many nights, while checking his crops, he would spot a tall figure standing perfectly still between the trees. It never moved, it never spoke. It simply watched. The moment lightning flashed, The figure disappeared. Even the village dogs sensed something unnatural. Every night they barked wildly toward the forest, but the second Ram Prasad stepped outside, the barking stopped, only silence and thick white fog. Then one evening, a violent thunderstorm rolled across Black Hollow. Rain poured so heavily that the fields vanished beneath sheets of water. As Ram Prasad secured his tools, he noticed a faint light moving slowly along the muddy road. At first, he thought it was another farmer, but then he heard it. Clang, clang, clang. The slow ringing of old cattle bells. His heart nearly stopped. Out of the fog emerged an ancient wooden ox cart, not on the forest road, but inside the village itself. For the first time in living memory, the cursed cart had crossed into Black Hollow. The lightning split the sky. For one brief second, Ram Prasad finally saw the cart driver. His blood ran cold. The figure wasn't human. Its skin looked gray and cracked like burnt wood. Hollow black eyes stared without blinking, while a twisted grin revealed long, needle-like teeth. It wasn't looking at him. It was looking past him, toward his house. Then the lightning faded. The cart disappeared into the mist as if it had never been there. The next morning, Ram Prasad told the villagers what he had seen. No one offered to help. Instead, they quietly stepped away from him. Everyone in Black Hollow believed the same terrifying legend. Once the ferryman sees your face, sooner or later, he comes back for you. From that night on, Ram Prasad barely slept. Every evening he locked every door and window before sunset. He hung old protective charms above the entrance and refused to let his daughter step outside after dark. But Suman wasn't convinced. She believed the stories were nothing more than fear passed down from generation to generation. To her, the cursed cart was just another village myth. Only one person believed Ram Prasad, a young man named Ravi. Strong, fearless, and respected by everyone, Ravi had known Suman since they were children. Secretly, he had loved her for years. He promised Ram Prasad one thing. Whatever's hiding in those woods, I'll protect her. A few evenings later, Ravi and Suman sat together near the edge of the fields as a light rain drifted through the air. The forest was unusually quiet, too quiet. Then Ravi noticed movement. Far between the trees, a tall shadow stood perfectly still. Two glowing red eyes burned through the fog, watching them. Ravi jumped to his feet. At that exact moment, a bolt of lightning lit up the forest. The shadow was gone. That night Suman heard a strange sound outside her bedroom window. Clang, clang, clang. The slow ringing of old cattle bells. The sound grew louder, closer, closer, until it stopped. Right outside the front door. No footsteps, no voices, only complete silence. Ram Prasad's face turned pale. He remembered the oldest warning in Black Hollow. When the bells stop outside your home, the ferryman has chosen someone inside. Neither of them dared look through the window, because deep down, they already knew. Something was standing just outside, waiting. The following night, everything changed. Just after midnight, a loud scratching sound echoed across the walls of the farmhouse. Scratch, scratch, scratch. It sounded as if long, sharp claws were slowly dragging across the wooden walls. Ram Prasad grabbed his lantern and rushed outside. Nothing, no footprints, no animals, only a thick blanket of fog rolling across the fields. At sunrise, things became even stranger. Deep wagon tracks circled the farmhouse several times before leading straight into the forest and disappearing. That evening, Ravi arrived carrying an old hunting axe. "This has gone on long enough," he said. "Whatever is out there, I'll end it." Ram Prasad wanted to stop him, but before either of them could speak, Suman suddenly froze. Her eyes turned empty. Without saying a single word, she began walking toward the forest, slowly, mechanically, almost as if someone invisible were pulling her forward. "Suman!" Ravi shouted. She didn't answer. She kept walking. Then the bells returned. Clang, clang, clang. The sound echoed from deep within the trees. Suman followed it without hesitation. Ravi and Ram Prasad ran after her. The deeper they entered the forest, the colder the air became. The wind died. Even the insects had fallen silent. Minutes later, they reached a small clearing. There it was. The ancient ox cart stood waiting in the middle of the mist. Its wooden frame looked blackened, as though it had survived a massive fire years ago. The two enormous oxen stood perfectly still, their glowing eyes reflected like burning coals. Neither animal breathed, neither blinked. Standing beside the cart was the ferryman. His tattered coat drifted in a wind that didn't exist. His glowing red eyes remained fixed on Suman. She walked toward him without resistance, like someone trapped inside a dream. Ravi tightened his grip around the axe. His hands trembled, but he took one step forward, then another, no matter what that creature was. He wasn't leaving that forest without Suman. Ravi let out a roar and charged straight toward the ferryman. The creature didn't move, it simply smiled. Ravi swung the axe with all his strength. The blade sliced through nothing. The ferryman vanished into black smoke. A freezing wind exploded through the clearing. Before Ravi could react, an invisible force wrapped around his throat. His feet lifted off the ground. He clawed at his neck, gasping for air as something unseen slowly squeezed the life out of him. Ravi. Ram Prasad grabbed a burning torch and looked around in panic. The ferryman's laughter echoed from every direction. It wasn't the laugh of one man. It sounded like hundreds of voices laughing together. Meanwhile, Suman continued walking toward the cart as if she couldn't hear anything around her. She reached out to climb aboard. Ram Prasad remembered something his grandfather once told him. Darkness fears fire. Without thinking, he hurled the burning torch directly into the old wooden cart. For a second, nothing happened. Then, whoosh, the cart erupted into towering flames. The ferryman released a horrifying scream that shook the entire forest. The trees trembled. Birds burst from the branches. The ground itself seemed to vibrate. The invisible grip around Ravi's throat disappeared, and he crashed onto the muddy ground, struggling to breathe. Suman blinked, as if waking from a nightmare. The burning cart rolled backward on its own. The two black oxen let out deep, unnatural cries before racing into the darkness. The ferryman stood inside the flames, his body cracking apart like burning charcoal. His glowing eyes locked onto Ravi. Then he spoke. His voice echoed through the forest like thunder. Fire can destroy my cart, but it cannot destroy me. I'll return. For every soul that escaped tonight. The burning wagon disappeared into the thick fog. Only the sound of distant cattle bells remained. By sunrise, Ravi, Suman, and Ram Prasad had escaped the forest alive. The villagers sealed the old road forever, building a new path miles away from the cursed woods. No one dared enter that forest again. Years passed. The legend slowly faded into a story parents told to frighten their children, until one rainy night. A truck driver traveling through the mountains reported seeing something impossible. An old half-burned ox cart emerged from the fog. Its driver wore a black coat. Its oxen had glowing red eyes, and just before the truck's headlights went out, the driver smiled. The next morning, the truck was found abandoned. The engine was still running. The driver's door stood open, but the driver was never seen again. Some say if you're traveling alone on a stormy night and hear old cattle bells behind you, don't turn around, don't stop, and whatever you do, never accept a ride from the ferryman, because some roads are meant only for the dead.